Welcome back. You tuned into the last segment of News and Views with me, your host, Mariam Mia, only on Salam Media, your online humanitarian platform. And now we're shifting focus to social media. And Australia has now introduced the world's first outright ban on social media for under 16s on Wednesday. The move marks the first time a country has imposed a blanket age based ban on social media platforms of this scale, raising questions of how it will work and whether it will actually protect young people. From December 10th, yesterday, children below 16 years of age will be barred from opening or using accounts on popular social media platforms under the new federal rules announced by the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's government. The policy requires platforms to block new underage accounts and to remove existing ones belonging to users younger than 16. Companies must also introduce systems to detect minors who attempt to access their services, but it does not include video game platforms, however. So, why is Australia doing this? Research commissioned by the Australian government in 2023 found 4 out of 5 children aged 8 to 16 use social media, often beginning between the ages of 10 and 12. That report was led by the former National Australian Bank CEO Andrew Thornburn, who recommended age restrictions. How will the ban be implemented and enforced? The e-safety commissioner said it will issue specific standards that platforms wishing to operate in Australia must follow, including age verification systems such as ID checks, which could include uploading an image of a user's face, regular audits, and compulsory reporting on how platforms identify underage users. So, to discuss what will be the impact on this, we are joined by a British-born Australian academic uh, with me, who is Brother Fadlullah Wilmot, joining me to unpack this. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Fadlullah, and welcome to News and Views. Let's just check. Seem to have lost uh, Brother Fadlullah. He was here a moment ago, just checking with. I'm checking with us, Abdul Salam. Okay, while we try and raise him, let's just chat about this because, interestingly, in South Africa, we are very active community amongst our young children using social media. They're very active social media users, even young children. I mean, I'm in the space where I engage and interact and facilitate 4-year-olds, and they're quite well versed in navigating themselves around a device, a tablet, know the YouTube icons, and they can navigate where they're going, what they want to do. They're quite knowledgeable in terms of using certain apps and that. So, would something like this then progress and take it on where research is done in South Africa as well? Could it have implications for other countries? And as parents, as grandparents, as members of society, what are your feelings regarding this blanket ban on these applications and systems for under 16-year-old? Will this be, what will be the impact? And is it a way of protecting our children, or do we regard it as draconian laws and then having being a nanny state? What are your views and implications regarding this, and what will it mean for business models as well, and those who rely on this? Because I mean, there's a lot of money to be made of various apps and applications in the social space as well. So it's very, very important that Australia has taken such a step, because it could have global implications. And also, interestingly, time will tell whether it will be functional to monitor, to implement, as well as if fines are imposed, how will this impact, and how will you impose such fines? I'm just going to check with Brother Abdul Salam if we manage to raise uh, Have we managed to raise Brother Fadlullah again? And because I'm very keen and interested to hear his views on this, and also how realistic it will be for these platforms to actually block this and have age verification tools. And will it also, so will bans have the desired effect where it will reduce? Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I'm
Brother
here.
Fadlullah, can you hear me? Okay, we lost you for a bit. I just
Yeah,
did an
because
intro.
I was doing something else because you I was waiting. Yeah.
Okay, Brother Fatullah, so tell me, what would be in your opinion, the immediate impact will this under 16 social media ban have on young people in Australia?
Well, let's look at it this way. 77% or 70% of parents support it, but only 38% of young people aged 10 to 17 do. So there's a gap between what parents want and what children want. Um, but the ban could shift a cultural shift for a whole generation of children because they've grown up online with social media, which has been central to their what you could call their identity, their self-expression, and their feelings of community, if you can put it like that. So it might feel like they lose a part of themselves, and but for those children who've been subject to bullying, addictive design, it might be a relief, a digital reprieve. So and then so that's the reaction in Australia. Global reactions. Um, some teens overseas they called it, oh wow, it's great, it's a detox. Uh, like in Mumbai, somebody said it could be bad, could be good. In Berlin, Luna Drues, she's 13-year-old. She said this might stop beauty pressure, and pressure on teens in Nigeria, the teenagers saying we were born with it. In Doha, they said that's ridiculous. So the global view is sort of very mixed. But in Australia, I think very importantly, doctors, teachers, and parents have been very welcoming. The Royal College of Australian GPs highlighted triple rates of teen anxiety and depression since 2009, and daily social media use reaching 85% among 11 to 14-year-olds. So whether the ban heals or harms will depend on what comes next, whether families or schools and communities can build new ways for teenager to connect, to be heard, rather than switching feeds.
Yeah, because that's what how would this ban affect vulnerable teens who rely on online communities for their support? Because they've got, like you say, a global support system online has given them that.
Mm.
How would that impact them now? What alternates has the government put in place for teens to then access such type of support systems?
For vulnerable teens, bullied teens, disabled teens, migrants, those from minority faiths, social media can be a really important helpline, and removing it abruptly like this could cause isolation. Uh, so, to counter this, the government and the community need to start publicly funded moderated service like Discord, like you've got Discord communities. They're adult supervised WhatsApp or Signal groups. I wouldn't recommend WhatsApp because now WhatsApp's been sold to Facebook and they can monitor everything. So it's probably better to use Signal. Offer free online counseling, more investment in local youth and faith spaces. Um, Faith-based organizations can hold halakat, can hold mentoring circles where they feel you can interact without being manipulated by the algorithms. Uh, Without those initiatives, I think the bans will be difficult for those people who are, say, marginalized.
And how realistic is going to be for platforms to accurately block under 16 using age verification tools? Because, I mean, that would be something that had they look at in terms of this, because previously there was no such verification required. And then also, this could also then lead to risky behavior by teens in terms of using other people's devices, of getting somebody older to do all the security checks and verifications and things. Because you know what, as soon as you put a ban on something, you then encourage unlawful and risky behavior as well, because these are teenagers. This is how their minds are wired.
Yes, but look at this. We banned smoking for children under 18, and it's had a very positive effect. So it's not it's it is realistic to make it much harder for under 16s to access social media, but it's impossible to make it impossible. They can lie about their birthday. They could use a siblings account, or they could find a smaller platform that hasn't enforced the rules. They can reduce numbers, but it can't hermetically seal everything off. But the real risk, I think, is in the enforcement architecture. This mandatory universal age check could merge corporate data with the nation state oversight. So it is really important to avoid building a monster, a surveillance monster. So therefore, verification should be minimal, it should be decentralized, and it should be time limited. And it should never be used for advertising, profiling, or policing. Corey Dr. Rao has written a book about this, and he says airtight gating will entrench the largest platforms, and Yanis Varoufakis talks it as a sort of tightening of the digital fiefdoms, because he talks about how we now have become slaves to the technocrats. So he has to fix the attention economy rather than a national ID internet system. So
I mean, mhm.
that need to be safeguards implemented, but uh, just because it's difficult, just because there are dangers, it doesn't mean, like for smoking, we shouldn't try. We have rules for underage drinking. We have rules for underage smoking. We have rules.
Absolutely. And then, in your opinion, what could this mean for the future of social media platforms and their business now? What does that mean for these companies and their platforms?
Sorry. Uh,
I, I'm
oh,
saying, what could this mean for the future of social media platforms and their business models?
yeah.
This
For the
ban.
tech giants,
Mhm.
this like Meta, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, uh, and we should need to remember that they're nearly all controlled by Zionists now. The economic stakes are enormous. Australia's e-safety commissioner estimates 95% of 10 to 15-year-olds have at least one account. About 2.5 million under 16 users on the platforms. They can't use it. That's 2.5 million people, young people, not being able to use the platforms anymore. So if you take these rules abroad to other countries, these companies will lose one of their most formative user cohorts. And this means the pipeline for lifetime engagement and future advertising revenue is cut. So widespread under 16 bans would undermine the growth at all, the capture of youth. So to survive, platforms need to pivot from surveillance-based advertising towards subscription or public service frameworks. So regulators could accelerate the change by banning. We could ban targeted ads to minors. We could punish. We could punish manipulative dark patterns. We could enforce design standards. We could limit the algorithms that are designed to make scrolling addictive. And that's why there needs to be sort of global collaboration between the EQ, EU, UK, Australia, the global south, to prevent platform lobbying softening these laws. Uh, Singapore has expressed interest in this, in what Australia is doing. So has Germany. So people are interested in getting this addiction of young people into social media. The danger is that US firms dominate digital infrastructure, and therefore, and they're very close to the present administration in the US, and they're threatening all sorts of retaliation. So therefore, there's a need for diversifying local interoperable networks to protect young people. And that will also help to reclaim cultural and economic independence. So it I'm sure the social media platforms, the techno feudal lords that we have now, they're worried about this, and they're going to do everything they can to undermine it.
Well, time will
And it
tell.
could, so if other countries copy Australia, it's a test case, really. Uh, Ursula von der Leyen agreed that Europe says, she said these words: "We in Europe are watching and will be learning from you." So
Absolutely,
this,
and that's what I was going to conclude on. That time is going to tell, and clearly Australia will be a leader in a test case in this and how the ban evolves,
Mm,
and how will the pushback with regard from these big tech giants, as well
mm,
as how the teenagers, especially I'm thinking of the 13 to 16-year olds,
mm.
what will be their protests against this, or will they find alternate, safer, better monitored platforms where teenagers could then engage it? So maybe an alternate, but we'll be watching closely on this one
Uh,
here.
yes, the Prime Minister of Australia appealed to, because this is now the holiday time in Australia. So he said, find something else to do. Learn to play an instrument, do something else. And uh, if other countries follow suit, it would mark the first time that Silicon Valley lose their unilateral control over what childhood looks like online. And this also, I think, it raises a really deep issue of sovereignty. Teenagers' online lives from Sydney to Soweto remain governed by US platforms, and their policies answer to advertisers, not to civil society, not to local people, not to local needs. So this needs a bigger picture of regulation on competition, because now they are merging and merging, becoming monopolies. So we need better regulations on preventing monopolies, having more competition, data protection. We need uh, and we need to shift the balance to allow regional public interest platforms to emerge, to reduce this dependence on a handful of American firms. And this is important not only for Australia and Western countries, but also for countries like in Africa and Asia.
Absolutely. And we applaud Australia and the Australian government for taking this mighty, bold step. And like you say, it's going to ruffle several feathers up north in the US. But time will tell, and we'll watch the space. And I'm sure this will also start discussions here in South Africa as well to protect our young children and to protect our youth. Thanks so much for your time.
Okay, no,
Much
thank you.
appreciated. Keep
Mm.
well, and hopefully we can chat to you in the future regarding this.
Inshallah.
That's
Thank you.
Fadlullah Wilmot,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
in living in Australia, but currently visiting up north in the UK. Assalamu alaikum wa
Alaikum
rahmatullahi wa
salam wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh.
barakatuh. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And that comes to the end of our News and Views 11th December 2025. I enjoyed your company, and I hope that we've educated and inform our listeners on various topics. And I think It was really, really informative, the various segments, and there was lots and lots of food for thought. And inshallah, looking forward to being in your company and having the privilege of your time next week, inshallah, next Thursday. Looking forward to it. Until then, may you be under the mercy and protection of the Almighty. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.